Hey, Tim.
Eric.
Nice to meet you.
All right, so what is your message to the non-believers?
Oh, man, to the non-believers, I would say that to think that there's, not intelligent life somewhere out there anywhere in the universe is ridiculous. And another thing would be that until you have an encounter, or if you ever had an encounter, then there would be no doubt in your mind as to what's out there and what really is. So that's pretty much about it. To think that there's intelligent life or there isn't intelligent life out there is just ridiculous because there is, and it's real. So without a doubt.
All right, let's see that information that you had.
Yeah, sure.
Could you have your finger over your name?
Oh yeah, sure. Here we go. Firearms qualification card, old military ID card, name card with rank and insignia, the U.S. Air Force.
All right, so let's start from the beginning.
All right, let's see. This was back in 1992. I was leaving from here, from California, going to Florida. I was driving across country to be with my wife and child at the time. She had moved from here out there to go home, be home with her family. I sold everything and tied up loose ends, and then I was driving across the country, and I was making two stops. One in Phoenix to see a good buddy of mine that I served in the service with, and then in New Mexico at Cannon Air Force Base, there was another friend that I was going to go ahead and stop by and see on my way to Florida. So I took off out of here and got to Phoenix and visited with him for a couple hours, and then took off. And it was in the evening when I left Phoenix. And on my drive, everything was uneventful until I got to Albuquerque. And then from Albuquerque, I was on I-40, and I took a little two-lane state highway off of I-40 down towards the southeast. It was heading towards Clovis Air Force Base, or Cannon Air Force Base, excuse me. And in between Albuquerque and a little place called Fort Sumner, New Mexico, there was a time where, and it was about 2 in the morning. I'm all by myself, and I got everything I own pretty much in the back of the car. So I'm driving along, and about 2 in the morning, everything's cool. I'm driving along. I'm not too tired. I mean, everything was cool, and I was in a good mood. And of course, it's pitch black out there, and there's nobody around, and no cars on the road or nothing. And after a while, I looked up in my rearview mirror, and I could see 3 lights. There was they were in a triangle shape. There was 2 red and a yellow, or 2 yellow and a red. I don't quite remember. But as I noticed them, and they were up in the right-hand corner of the rearview mirror, and they were really hard to see. You had to really look up, and you had to really focus in to actually see them. They were kind of faint. But when I looked up and I noticed them consciously, I thought to myself, oh man, those have been there for a while. So I thought, oh, that's strange. So I'm driving along, and no matter where I would go, no matter how the road went, these things were still in the same spot in my rearview mirror. And so after a while, I decided I was going to go ahead and try and figure out what they were. So I went through this process of eliminating different things that could be what they were. Everything from, the lights coming off the dashboard, from the cluster reflecting off the windows, or anything like that. The reflectors on the side of the road, lights from the train tracks, that was out there on the side of the road. And I couldn't come up with anything, anything logical. Nothing made any sense. And no matter where I went, they were still there. And this lasted for like 30 minutes, all right? And I just went through this checklist of everything, what it could be. And I got to a point where I got so frustrated with, and this is where it gets really weird. I got so frustrated with what they were. They were really hard to see. They were real faint, and they were kind of blurry, kind of like if you were approaching an intersection or leaving an intersection that was probably a mile behind you. So they were real small and they were real faint, but they were there. They were there.
Yeah.
And so I went through this period of like 30 minutes trying to figure out what they were. And when I got so frustrated that I couldn't figure it out, and wondering why they were still there no matter where I went, and they didn't move, they were in the same spot above the highway, out in the darkness. So it finally got to a point where I got so frustrated, I just threw my hands up and I said, okay, screw it. I can't figure it out. Well, the nanosecond that I said, okay, screw it, I can't figure it out, it hit me, boom. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, I know what it is. And I knew what it was,
Yeah.
I knew that I knew what it was. And I slunk down in the driver's seat, and I went cold from head to toe. And I thought to myself, no, this ain't happening. This ain't me. This isn't happening. This only happens to other people. And so of course, I got really, really frightened, and I went ahead and I punched it, and I got on the gas. And so I'm in like an old Chrysler LeBaron. I'm in like an 86 Chrysler LeBaron convertible. So now I've got this thing going about 100 miles an hour, about as fast as it'll go down this 2-lane highway. And now I look up, and all of a sudden they're getting bigger. Okay, they're getting bigger. They're coming down the road, and they're approaching me fast. And so now I'm really freaking out. This was the most terrified I'd ever been in my life. I mean, I was so scared I started to cry. I was crying. And they got closer, and they got closer, and they're getting bigger, and they're getting bigger. And I'm thinking to myself, this just isn't happening, man. It's complete chaos in my head going on, just complete chaos. My life's flashing before my eyes. I don't know what's happening. I can't process it all, really. And they continue to get closer. And then all of a sudden, out to the right, on the passenger side, out in the country, out there in the hills, or the rolling meadowlands, or whatever it was they got out there, a big bright white spotlight came on. Just a single, what would be like a spotlight or a headlight, and it was real bright. Okay, it was extremely bright. And I thought to myself at first, like it was a motorcycle or something. So I thought, okay, cool, people, right? And so it didn't take long to realize that going down the highway at 100 miles an hour, and this light is 90 degrees out to my right, that it's not going to be very long, and you're going to be completely past where this thing is coming out, right? It's going to be behind you now. Well, I realized real quickly that it wasn't behind me. It was continuing down the road with me, parallel, and getting closer. You follow me?
Yeah.
So it was pretty crazy. And so now it's getting brighter, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting closer. These things back here are continuing to come down the road, and they're getting bigger, and they're getting closer, and they're just these orbs of light.
So where was the spotlight coming from?
The spotlight was coming from 90 degrees out, like the passenger window, out, from in the darkness out there, because it was just pitch black. It's just rolling New Mexico desert or whatever it is. Now, also keep in mind that I was just happened to be 80 miles north of Roswell, all right, when we know what happened at 47, right? So anyway, and of course, I didn't think about it at the time, all right, and also I didn't think about it at the time was, the fact that where I was at, I mean, I knew, all along that that area was a hotbed for this kind of phenomenon.
Yeah.
Okay, but I wasn't worried about it. It didn't bother me. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just tooling along and enjoying my ride. And like I said, about 2 in the morning, I'd been driving for, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours out of Phoenix. And so this happened, and these things are approaching my car now at a high rate of speed. I've got it floored. It's just chaos going on in my head. I'm really afraid. I couldn't believe how afraid I was. It was just crazy because I knew what they were in my head. I mean, I can't tell you exactly what they were, but I know that it wasn't of this world. All right, it wasn't of this world, and they continued to come down the road, and now they're like right outside the car. Now all of this takes place in about less than 90 seconds from the time I just said, oh man, I can't figure out what it is, to the time that it was completely over with was about less than 90 seconds. All right. So they're coming down, they get close, and now of course the light from the orbs and from the bright white spotlight are so bright, and it's the whole inside of the car is illuminated, like you'd see on a movie or something like that. It's all illuminated, and it's just chaos going on in my head. And it's real bright, and this one's, I can't see, and these things are like right outside the back of the car. And when they were that close, they looked like they were about, I don't know, like the size of a couple of beach balls, say. But they were translucent. You could see through them. Okay, I could see the asphalt all lit up behind the car from with color. And these orbs, they were blurry, but you could see through them. All right.
Cool.
And it's so it's pretty wild. You got these orbs of color that are coming down the road after you, and they're engulfing your car.
So how far away from you did it look like they were?
Well, when I finally couldn't, process what was going on anymore, and basically gave up on the whole situation, they were probably within 5 yards, behind my car. And then of course I couldn't tell you exactly how close the one on the out to the passenger window was, but it was so close and so bright that I couldn't see, anything. Everything was just lit up and bright. Yeah. But those ones in the back were just right outside the back of the car. I mean, they were that close. Okay. I mean, you could really see how big they were, and you could see, through them and stuff. So I'm just freaking out. And it got to a point where when they got that close and they got to that point, of course, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not even going to make it to Florida. My wife and my kid, they're just all of a sudden going to find out that I disappeared one day and never was heard from them again, and they're going to wonder what the hell's going on. So I was pretty emotional at the time, and I was crying out to God and all that other stuff, if you believe in a higher power or whatever. But I was pulling out all the stops, and finally it got to the point where they were so close, and it was, they were just right outside the vehicle. Just that's where they were at, and that I knew that I was fixing to go somewhere. I figured I was going to be abducted, right?
Yeah.
And this is where it gets wild. I couldn't fathom what was going on anymore. I couldn't process it, and I turned off. I shut down. I closed my eyes, and I put my head down on the steering wheel. I put my head down on the steering wheel and touched my forehead to the airbag. All right, because
and the car was still going.
Car was
80,
still 100 miles an hour, right? 100 miles an hour. I didn't care. Okay.
You're still alive. Maybe they did intervene.
That's what I'm saying. Now this is where it gets weird. I literally couldn't fathom what was happening to me. They were right outside the car, and I really didn't want to see what would happen to where I was going. So I closed my eyes and I put my forehead on the steering wheel as I was hanging on. I just put it down like that. Now, from that point, I have no idea how much time passed. It could have been 2 seconds. It could have been 15 minutes. And I did lose a little time actually afterwards when I came back. I lost some 10, 15 minutes or something. But it could have been just, instantaneous. I don't know. But there was this period of time that I cannot tell you what happened. Okay, up until then, I can tell you what happened. They came down the road. They chased me. I tried to figure out what they were, at first. And then when they got to right outside the car as I was being chased, going 100 miles an hour, I couldn't handle it. Closed my eyes, put my head on the steering wheel, and then it seemed like it was instantaneous. And then all of a sudden, I heard my voice in my head, like there was another entity using my voice. I heard my voice say, "Look up." So I looked up, and now I'm coming into Fort Sumner. There's a grade in the road, all right, and it's coming up, and I could see the lights of the town up in the sky.
Cool.
And then a sign went past me that said Fort Sumner, 2 miles. Well, the interesting thing about it was that I was right in the middle of my lane, right where I was supposed to be. I wasn't veering to the left. I wasn't veering to the right. I wasn't heading towards the shoulder. I wasn't heading towards the center line.
Yeah.
I was right where I was supposed to be. Now, I've told my other friends this before, and other people that have asked me about it. If you go out somewhere and you get where you've got plenty of room or whatever, and you take your car up to speed, get 100 miles an hour or whatever it'll do, and you're going in a straight line, go ahead and try it. Close your eyes and just touch your head to your steering wheel, and then bring it right back up, and tell me if you're not actually starting to move one way or the other. Because that's just the way cars are. They drift, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will be going one way or the other, or start heading that way anyway. You might not be off the edge, or might not be over the center line, but you're heading that way.
Yeah.
Okay. I was right in the center of the lane where I was supposed to be. And I come up over the hill, and I come into town, and there's a little Quick Mart up on the left. So I whipped in there, man, and I was frantic. I whipped in there, and I backed up right to the glass window. It had big glass windows, and I backed right up I would have backed up in the thing if they'd let me. I really would have. So I backed up, and I got to the curb there, and I backed up right in front of the store, and I got out, and I went in, and I got like a Mountain Dew or something. And when I came to pay for it, the lady that was there, she could tell that there was something wrong. She asked me if I was okay, and I said, well, I don't know. I said, I just had something strange happen to me. Some lights chased me down the highway just, a little bit ago. And she just basically said, oh, don't let it bother you too much. Stuff like that happens out here all the time. So, right. So I'm like, well, okay, that much, I probably figured that much, but I didn't think anything would happen to me like that. So she's like, you'll be all right. So I went and I got back in the car, and I pulled up the blanket and the pillow that I had in the back, and I stayed there, and I just in the front seat and just looking out, because I was so afraid, man. And I was looking out until I passed out. And then I woke up that following morning, like 8 or 9 a.m. to a beautiful day, birds chirping. It was just beautiful, man. And and I kind of the first thought that came to my mind was, I'm alive. I'm alive. So I went ahead and I fired up the car, and I continued on my trip to Cannon Air Force Base to see that friend, and then of course down into Florida, and everything was uneventful after that. But that was pretty crazy. That was a crazy night.
So you've never had any other type of experience?
Never had anything up close.
Not even.
I've seen just one time. I've seen something in the sky that was like I said before. It was looked like a star, and I just happened to be looking right at it, and then it got real bright. Real bright, and then it took off out into space. It didn't travel across the sky.
Yeah, I call those starlight UFOs.
Okay, yeah. Well, it didn't come to the ground. It didn't shoot across the sky like a satellite or a plane or something. This thing was just stationary, and then it got real bright, and then it just slowly took off and just got smaller and smaller as it went out into space. That blew my mind too, just simply because. What does that?
Yeah, but nowhere near on the other.
Nothing, not on the level of the other thing. The other thing, I was so afraid. That was the most scared I'd ever been in my life. I literally knew or thought that I was going to be taken somewhere, and you never know. I don't know what happened in that period of time when I closed my eyes and put my head down. that's the period of time that I don't know what happened, and I don't know for how long. So, but.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
It's a crazy one. I know it's, you know, a lot of people find that hard to believe, truly. But you know, and I understand, I get it. You know, I used to be that way. But until you actually have some kind of an up close encounter, you know, you may not believe. And I get it. Yeah, I understand. But I promise you, if you ever had one, you wouldn't be skeptical after that. You know, because they're here, and it's real. So.
All right. Okay. All right. It was great to meet you.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm sold out, you know, believer. You know, I know these things exist. They're here. They've been here. They've been visiting here for eons. But I mean, they look exactly the same thing. I mean, the way you can see through it, and you know, and it's how it's kind of hazy. That's exactly what these things look like. Because they were just, you know, round and translucent, looked just like that, only with the color, and of course on a much bigger scale. I'm telling you, man, what I went through, it was the most horrific. It was traumatizing.
Especially if you don't agree or believe with that in the first place, and then it's like, okay, just pretty much gets dropped in your lap.
You know, I don't know what it is. I'll try to figure it out, and then of course it all went to hell after that. Society would trip out, dude. It would be mass mayhem.
And you know, I think that's part of the reason why people don't agree with it in the first place, because mentally they can't handle that.
I think
it's
that's
too much.
Yeah, I think that's a true statement. Yeah, I do. Yep. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to believe it, you know, because they know that if they do, it's going to open up a whole new can of worms in their life, and you know, it's just, why bother, you know. But you know, once again though, with the sightings of different phenomenon, you know, picking up exponentially year after year, you know, case after case after case after case.
So if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll let you know what's going on throughout the process.
Right on.
I've got a camera set up right in front of a 80-inch TV.
Oh, okay.
And that's what the whole thing is for the next 16 minutes.
Okay, cool.
And now,
but this is actually the stream though. Then
that's his stream.
Okay.
It's a live stream
right.
that I'm recording, that someone else had recorded themselves.
Okay. So what, did I miss something already here or what?
Yes, you did. Okay. But all you gotta do is just keep watching.
Okay.
You'll get it.
All right.
Every time you hear that click, that's when I'm touching the keyboard to freeze and then play the video.
Okay. That click right there, you mean?
Oh no, I'm just setting the camera back into
gotcha.
the thing.
Gotcha. Need to keep that in the shade too there.
See how the thing is moving?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm freezing it, I'm unfreezing it by pressing that keyboard button as fast as I can.
Wow, that's weird. And that's on the wall in the picture, or is it just?
It's moving throughout the video.
And there it's gone now. So where is it again here? That's it there.
Yeah, you see it started from down here and it went all the way up there.
Yeah, it went shot.
Within a fraction of a second.
Right. Now, is that you with it stopped there or something?
Yeah,
okay, you froze it, so this is a freeze
that's the reason why we're seeing it.
Okay, I see. Or else it would have just kept on.
Yeah, otherwise it would have just been
kept
a
on
blur.
going. Gotcha. That's interesting.
You see the play button where it goes back to play and then freeze. You see every time I touch the space bar, it plays it and freezes it.
Right. So you went back later and you edited. You went back after you did the live stream.
Yeah, I chopped it up to where it's gonna be the best way to view it, because it's all cut down to where I went back to these special little time slots.
Right. Yeah, you're just ripping the key there, aren't you? You can see it.
Yeah, no, just watch, because it's about to come into the picture. There it is.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
I know.
Now, you know, I've seen other footage of orbs like that, and it's just it's interesting and it's amazing. But I mean, I don't know if they're all related to the same type of phenomenon or not. You know, I don't know.
There's really no telling.
You're right. And these and some of these stuff like these here that I've seen, they all seem to be white or kind of clear, whereas mine were actually colored.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange.
And yours was a much larger scale.
Yeah, much larger. Yeah, real big. So have we ruled out like dust in the air and
Yeah, of
stuff
course.
like that?
This is in an enclosed room.
Okay. Oh, well, you're ripping that key there. Oh, there it is. Boom.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think there was 3 or 4 times that were worth recording for the different time slots.
That's interesting.
So that's what I'm showing on this video was 3 different times that I had seen it. It comes up in other times, but these were made the most sense just to record these and not the ones that didn't show up as clear.
How are you ripping them keys so fast like that?
Tap it twice.
Oh, that's what you're doing? Sounds like you're just like ripping right through it.
Boom. So you just
Oh
showed
yeah,
up
there
at
it
the
is.
bottom.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, what is that?
It's a good question.
And it's even, I don't know, it's even in comparison with all the other stuff in the background, you can actually see that it's in the space. It's in dimensional. It's. I mean, you see
this
through
was
it.
shot through his live stream.
Yeah, right.
So it couldn't have been edited after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah. What are those things? I wonder. There was some speculation. I'd seen some footage like this before, where people are out in the cemeteries and they're just taking photos, and a lot of orbs are everywhere in the cemeteries. So I'm thinking, maybe I wonder if that's related at all. Yeah, because they were talking, to, like spirits and stuff like that, possibly.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe there could be a link there.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the vibrational energy.
Yeah, some kind of an energy, sure. Yeah. Maybe that's what these are. Maybe it's energy of past souls or something.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I don't know.
I mean, you follow those, those ghost stories channels.
Yeah,
those
I do. I think
those
I
are
would
cool.
be really interested in this.
Cool.
I think every UFO person on YouTube or anywhere else would be really interested in this.
Yeah, for sure. There it is again, right there.
Yep.
And it just darts around and moves just throughout space, just wherever it wants to go, huh?
Yeah, I've literally seen it go in one direction and then go down again and then back up.
That's amazing.
And that's actually shown in this video.
That is amazing. And it's translucent. You can see right through it. And it's and it's blurry in the same way that mine were. You know what I mean? Only like you said, on a much larger scale. Because that's exactly what it looked like. I mean, if you could reach out and touch it, I'm sure that
that's intense. Like, I'm glad that we have you here to talk about that, because who better to talk about this?
That's what they look. That's what they look at. And I remember mine being pretty symmetrically round at the time. I don't know. I could be wrong, but they were. But it was more like a basketball round. And of course, as this moves through space, it obviously it gets oblong, probably just because of the way it's moving, I imagine. But they look exactly the same thing. The way you can see through it, and that's how it's kind of hazy. That's exactly what these things look like.
And the fact that these are showing up on people's live stream, it means that they're potentially all over the place.
Yeah, true. Yeah. True. What else have we maybe tried to throw at the idea of it possibly being, within a room like that? It's not dust. It's
I absolutely know that it can't be a bug, because I've done the same thing on bugs to test to what is a bug going to look like when it's flying around in slow motion. I've done that, and there's not a slight possibility that, not even a slight chance
like
that
be a bug.
Could be it.
No, What was the purpose of this dude's live stream in the first place?
Well, he does a lot of talk videos.
Okay.
But that's a good question. He was actually getting into some deep information, a lot of stuff that some people wouldn't believe, but others would.
All right.
But it's all just based on fact, and it might have something to do when you speak on those type of facts. I don't know. Maybe it changes the energy. I don't know. It could be a number of things.
Right. it seems to come up from the bottom every time. And
well, there was one time
around.
when it came down from it started from the top.
Is that right?
And then it went down, and it was smaller, went down, then it came back up, and it was bigger when it came back up. I don't know if that's because of it was closer to the camera or what the case was. I'm just not sure.
Did you notice this as the live stream was going off? Did you notice these things?
I wasn't watching the video as it was being live streamed. I watched it afterwards, but I did notice it the first
as
time
it was playing in real time. You noticed shit.
Well, I noticed something fly by him really fast, and I was like, "There's no way that was a bug." So I went back, and then I started to do that slow motion technique, and found it.
Wow!
I mean, the first thing I noticed was that orb right over this dude's picture in the background, and it was just like, no way, what the hell is that? And it just bothered me ever since then.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's weird because depending on how you look at it, it looks like, you know, that its position in space is sometimes closer to the camera, and then as you get up there and you moved or made, you know, and did something, whatever, it kind of looked like it was back there on that, you know, it kind of looked like it was way back there on that,
you know,
over that thing.
I'm taking the camera off the pedestal, and I'm just bringing it all the way up to it to get the full view on it.
Right. Sounds like machine gun fire.
I'm trying to do it as fast as I can.
Cool. That's crazy. What is that, I wonder?
Yeah, you know, I wonder how many other people are like me and have seen this and are trying to expose it, but, you know.
Yeah, you know, for the most part, though, people are they'll just count it off to just dust flying around in the air or something. Oh, these cameras, they pick up everything.
Think that way. That's why I went back and reversed the video and saw it in the first place, because I'm like, it was not a bug.
Yeah,
what a bug. Like, I do video editing. I edit my own videos. I see the way things happen, and I'm like, all right, I know what that was.
Can these cameras actually pick up these flecks of dust and stuff? I mean, like if the dust was falling through the air and stuff.
That's a good question. You know, I can do like a tester video and just like throw dust or whatever to see what it's gonna look like. But you know, I have an idea what that's
snap a dust rag off near the camera or something, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, I can try different experiments, but I know I'm not gonna get anything that's gonna resemble anything close to this.
Right. Wow. That's crazy. Every time it goes by, it's just my mind just starts spinning. It's like, well, what, you know, trying to figure out what it is, you know. It's like, what could it possibly? And then, you know, and that's funny because that's what I went through that night when I noticed them back there in the mirror, and when I consciously noticed them and looked at them, I'm like, you know, what are those? And it bothered me for 45 minutes until finally, you know, I knew what it was, and then the chase began. Other than that, it drove me crazy trying to figure out what they were logically, you know, and I couldn't come up with nothing. I captured the UFO on video. Cool.
Yeah, I had to explain it, otherwise it's just confusing.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Me sitting here explaining exactly what's going on in the video makes me think, okay, everybody else who has seen this has probably been confused as to what they're even looking at in the first place.
Yeah, they probably have no idea. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities there, you know, although, you know, as far as movement, mine, obviously, they didn't move. They stayed, you know, in position in that time and that place in space in the mirror back there.
Yeah, until you started driving.
Until I was driving the whole time, but I mean, until you know, I finally, even while I was trying to figure out what it was, I'm still driving along, you know, no matter where the road went, there, you know, they were still there, and so it was really bothering me, and I tried to figure it out, and then when I finally had gone through, I don't know how many different possibilities that, you know, I was even making stuff up to start trying to figure it out, and when I finally had enough, and I just gave up, that's when it was just like that quick, and I was like, oh no, you know, and then that's when I got scared, I hit the gas, and then when I hit the gas is when I noticed they were coming up the road, you know, and it was, chase was on then. But so the only movement then would be basically just from directly behind me, you know, straight, so there was really nothing out in front to darting back and forth, you know, nothing to change its shape or anything like that, because they were just, you know, round and translucent, looked just like that, only with the color, and of course on a much bigger scale. But they moved pretty quick. They got on me pretty fast.
Is this the first time you've been able to see something that resembled what you've seen on video?
Well, you know, not really, because I've seen a lot of orb, you know, footage and stuff like that.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah, there's a lot, and of course, and I never. But at the time that I saw this stuff, I never really even tried to compare it to my experience, and the thought never came to mind until now, until you actually brought it to my mind, because then I just thought, you know, well, these are just little orbs. They're out in the cemetery, you know, they're all over the place, and they're dancing around and they're doing all this stuff. Okay, maybe it's, you know, energy from spirits and stuff like that. And so I was looking at it on that kind of a level, you know, instead of a cosmic one, you know, instead of that way. So
yeah, you know, I don't really know what angle that it should be looked at. I think it should be looked at all angles. Sure.
No, for the longest time, right, I had a question. This is obviously, it's a valid question, but because I'm a Christian. I've been to church. I know I did a lot of Bible study. I know a lot of that stuff, and I, you know, and what I believe. Of course, it's what I believe. But my question was, and because I also believe in the UFO phenomenon and extraterrestrials and other life out there. My question was, knowing what I know as far as being, you know, a spiritual individual and knowing what I've learned and what I believe in, where does the UFO phenomenon fit in with that? Because, you know, I believe our higher power created us. I believe it's, you know, I believe all that stuff, and I believe that we're His greatest creation, according to the Word. You know, in His image, His greatest creation out of all of them. Okay, so that means all the other stuff that's out there He created. We're His greatest creation. But where does any of that, where is that spoken about, and you know, how does that relate to this, if at all? Because I kind of thought, you know, that it would have to be one and not the other. Well, you know, I've come to learn that it's actually all kind of relates, and there is portions within the Bible in the Old Testament where it talks about, of course, it's talked in different types of terms, and you have to kind of deduce, you know, what they're talking about, but they do talk about, you know, stuff of, you know, that nature. Yeah, man, I don't know what else to make of that, just other than it's got to be some kind of an energy, you know, of some sort. You know, could they be little drones, like little UFO drones? I
mean, I don't know. I feel like at that level, they don't need a body anymore.
Right.
They're just like, they're so advanced to where they don't need the body anymore, and whatever that means. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I know exactly what. Like, I think they call it the singularity, where it's just one consciousness or something.
Maybe something.
You know,
like
something like that. You know, I've heard Elon Musk talk about that. I don't know a lot about it, but you know, maybe that. But yeah, they don't need a body. That's exactly what it would be. I'm telling you, man, what I went through, it was the most horrific. It was traumatizing.
Especially if you don't agree or believe with that in the first place, and then it's like, okay, just pretty much gets dropped in your lap.
Yeah, well, you know, my take on it up until that point was, you know, like if somebody asked me, do you believe in UFOs? I'd be like, you know, my answer was yeah, you know, kind of, I guess, you know, I mean, I know for sure that, you know, that it's possible, you know, I mean, I don't know, but for sure, but I think it's very possible. So I was like, you know, like one way or the other. It's like, yeah, okay, it's possible. But, you know, I didn't actually believe in them because I'd never had any experience or anything like that, just what I've seen on TV and what I've heard. And then, of course, the common sense thing of, you know, are we alone? You know, how can we possibly be alone? So obviously you have an open mind to things like that. It's like, okay, I guess maybe, you know, there probably is something else out there, but, you know, I don't have a whole lot of proof. Well, that changed, you know, and so it was at that time when that happened, that when, you know, when it changed, when it clicked, when it went from just you know, now I wasn't concerned, I wasn't worried, nothing, and I just went through this mindset of trying to figure out what they were logically. You know, why would they be there? Why would they be in the same spot no matter where I went? When I look out and I look back into the dark, why are they there? Way out there. Why are they there? Everywhere I went. What else? You know, and I had somebody pose the question to me one time, well, why didn't you just pull over and stop to see if they came up the road behind you? That never crossed my mind. Isn't that weird? You know, now if somebody else was telling me the story, the same story, I'd have said the same thing. Well, why didn't you pull over? I know I would have. But at the time when I'm trying to figure out what they were, that never crossed my mind.
Yeah,
never.
You know what it is? It's
weird.
Probably like the fear. It's fear of the unknown type of thing. It's like, I'm not going to pull over and try to find out what this is type of thing.
But it wasn't even that. It wasn't even a thought of anything like that. It was just, I was just curious as to what it was. I wanted to find out what it was, you know, without any fear or worry about whether or not it would come up behind me or what it was. I was just, you know, I totally thought it was completely benevolent, you know, and just whatever it was. Well, why are those things back there? And, you know, when you think about it, if you had these orbs of light that were back in, you know, behind you, I don't know how far, way back there in the darkness, you can barely see them. And no matter where the road went throughout this vast expanse of New Mexico, they were there for as long as you can remember, you know, going on, you know, an hour maybe or better. Well, that's pretty odd in itself that just these lights would be back there in the dark. So why didn't I think, you know, why didn't I bother to think more crucially, you know, or more, you know, why didn't I pick it apart more and wonder more? Like, well, okay, something's not right here, so it has to be more than just something that my curiosity is gonna find out about. You know what I mean? You know, why didn't I think that it was, you know, to go into that mindset? Well, hey, something's wrong here. You know, this isn't right, and then trying to investigate it that way. Instead, I was just like, oh man, you know, I don't know what it is. I'll try to figure it out, and then of course it all went to hell after that. But you know, so I've always wondered why those thoughts, or why it, you know, the whole thing went down the way it did without me thinking or you know, going through trying to figure out what it was in a different manner. And I never really even realized it until somebody brought it to my attention. I was like, wow, you know what? I have no idea why I didn't. That's a good question. It was just that instant. It was just like, oh, now I know what it is. And it was just, you know, it was cracking on after that. But yeah.
Do you think it was a positive influence on your life, or somewhere in between, negative? Or?
You know, I don't think it had any negative, you know, at all. Not at all whatsoever, other than just you know, trying to kind of get over it and figure it all out, and then of course figuring out how I was going to tell people whenever I was going to talk about it, you know, or whatever. But for the most part, most of the people I've told the story to, they all believe me completely because they know me. Most of them know me as a person. Those that don't, obviously a little more skeptical. You know, but definitely not anything negative in any way, shape, or form that I can think of. Positive. Well, I guess, you know, in the sense that I'm sold out, you know, believer. You know, I know these things exist. They're here. They've been here. They've been visiting here for eons and eons. I'm sure they were visiting here before we ever even came around. I'm sure they have. I'm sure they were sending their little drones for surveillance back in the days of the dinosaurs. I'm sure they were. You know what I mean? I truly believe that. So they've been coming for a long time, and it's amazing that we've gone this long without any disclosure yet. You know, although it's coming slowly but surely. I think we're being conditioned, you know, a little bit at a time to accept this. Because if it was just dropped in everybody's lap, in the whole nation or the whole world was dropped into everybody's lap all at once, okay, guess what? We, the government, have been lying to you all these years, 60 or 70 years.
You think
all of this,
you couldn't get food when things were bad.
Right,
like,
dude.
Try the
chaos. Well, try the chaos that's going to ensue when they just drop it in everybody's lap and go, "We've been lying to you. It's real. They're here. They've been here. They're amongst you right now. You know, some of them look just like you. You don't even know it. They've been here. They are here. We've lied to you, and so now just handle it." Society would trip out, dude. It would be mass mayhem.
And you know, I think that's part of the reason why people don't agree with it in the first place, because mentally they can't handle that.
I think that's
too much.
Yeah, I think that's a true statement. Yeah, I do. Yep. They don't want to have to think about it. They don't want to have to believe it, you know, because they know that if they do, it's going to open up a whole new can of worms in their life, and And you know, it's just, why bother, you know? But you know, once again though, with the sightings of different phenomenon, you know, picking up exponentially year after year, you know, case after case after case after case, it's, you know, and of course with the advent of the internet and, you know, the information superhighway, now data goes across the world in, you know, milliseconds and stuff, and so there's so much access to data and you know, media and stuff that you know, that normally, and you know, and the ability to share it with others, right? So that, so stuff, something, you know, that's, you know, stuff goes viral, and just the way it's able to be shared is so different than it used to be, you know. And I think that's obviously a reason why the whole thing is picking up speed as far as disclosure is concerned, because of the ability to share it with everybody and how things go viral, and the fact that everybody's got a camera, you know, so things are gonna, you know, you can't get away with nothing no more, you know what I mean? so therefore, you know, they pick up everything, and so you're gonna have footage of whatever, and it's just up to people to believe or not believe whether or not what they're seeing is what they're, you know, the other people are claiming it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, people are picking up things accidentally.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll just be
Absolutely.
reporting something, and
Without
next
doubt.
thing they know, they'll just accidentally have something in the background.
Yep.
that
Sure
didn't know
enough.
was there.
Yeah, sure enough. You know, orbs are a lot of orbs. A lot of people take pictures. You know, they get them developed, or they come back, you know, on their computer or whatever. Like, whoa, look at that. We didn't
Yeah,
see
you know what? I
and
think
they didn't see
people
that
ignore that so much, because when you get the camera, when you have the sun in your camera shot, it creates those orbs. That's just normal.
Sure.
That's like a
Yeah,
reflection off
right.
of your lens and all that. Some of these cameras, they have these weird little bubbles right over the camera lens, so you're getting that reflection on that little bubble that's on the top of your camera.
Oh, really?
Specifically GoPros, a lot of them have little bubbles on top of the camera.
Oh, for like a level?
Oh, no, it's really just like to make it have the fisheye
the fisheye,
effect.
right? Okay. Yeah, that kind of information is getting. Remember Eric, Dad? Eric's the one who came and got that tractor, that old green tractor from us.
Oh,
Yeah. Of course. Good seeing you.
Good to speak with you again.
Thanks for having me, dude.